I'm Jessica.
I'm Emmalynn.
And in today's video, we are going to be sharing with you our spring TBR. And yes, it may be spring, but in Washington,
it's winter.
You still wear long sleeves in the spring. All spring.
Forever.
Spring lasts until July. So.
And it's actually fall.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's okay.
Without further ado, let's get started.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to knock out, I have one digital read, and that is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just seen everyone talk about this book. I love the cover.
The cover is so cute.
The cover is giving me, like, You've Got Mail vibes, because it just looks like New York, and
when they're walking.
She loves daisies, and, like, when they go to the park and the
market
and everything. Yeah. All I know about this is that we are immediately following like a accidental pregnancy trope. Doesn't happen like in the middle of the book. It's right off the bat. And yep, that's it. That's all I got.
And our library has no copies of this book. So I think we're just gonna have to buy it from Book of the Month.
Darn.
I think we'll have to.
This seems more like a literary fiction than a romance. Like, it seems like romance in, like, all forms, like found family, that kind of thing. So, I don't really want to know much more. Because, like, romance, you can obviously guess what happens. But this, I feel like, I don't know. I want to be more surprised.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost like an investment because if you read it, then I'll read it too. So, it's
That's true.
It's really like 2 for 1, you know?
I think we should just buy it on Pango. All our credits.
Oh, we could when they finally land. Okay, the first book I'm going to talk about is probably the one I'm most like intimidated to read, but I also really want to read something by this author, and that is Ann Patchett, The Dutch House. And the reason I want to read something by Ann Patchett is because we used to live like 45 minutes from Nashville. And we would always go to Trader Joe's. And across the street from Trader Joe's was Parnassus Books, which is owned by Ann Patchett. And I didn't know that until after we left. And now I'm like,
a few months ago.
What were we not doing?
A lot
we
of
have
things,
a lot
actually.
Of,
we have a lot of regrets.
Yeah, we have a lot of regret in regards to the proximity of Nashville we used to live in. And we didn't really we took it for granted. But that's behind us. And I'm going to read The Dutch House. And I'll do it like as a tribute to Ann Patchett for saying, I'm sorry I never visited Parnassus Books. And I'm sorry I took that for granted.
We didn't know.
But I know now, and I will come. I will come visit
soon
you because I'm sure you work there every day. And I will buy something to support your bookstore. But all I know about this book is it follows a man who, after the Second World War, he comes into a lot of wealth despite the fact that like he grew up very poor, and kind of like his goal in becoming wealthy is to buy this house called the Dutch House for, I think it's it's supposed to be a surprise for his wife. But basically, like, the buying of this house kind of is the downfall of his family and also, like, the wealth that he obtained. I don't know if it's because of, like, the status that it puts their family in, or if it's, like, they don't know how to manage their wealth because they didn't come from wealth and it was just kind of, like, flung up on them. But it's kind of the story of, like, how they rise into their wealth and then fall, and then how their family has to be held together despite all of these tumultuous things happening to them. So it sounds really interesting. It sounds sad, but at the same time it sounds interesting. And the cover is giving spring because it has flowers and birds. So that's why it's here.
Next book is Kitchens of the Great Midwest, and I got 2 books by this author and I couldn't decide which one I'm going to read, so we're going to pretend that it's this one, and sorry if I read the other one instead. I bought this because of the cover and because...
You didn't buy it. It's from the library.
I got it whenever I picked her up, no matter what. Because of the cover and because the inside just talks a lot about how it's a book for foodies, talks about the kitchen, like bake-offs and those kinds of things. I'm personally a Great British Bake-Off fan. So I'm hoping it's
helped her complete so many crochet projects.
It's just a perfect mindless show. Like, I don't have to pay attention. I just look up. I usually don't pay attention until, like, they're done with whatever they're making. Then I watch the judging, and then I go back to crochet. And it's great. So I'm
beautiful.
Hoping this will give, similar vibes, but, like, my family. Like, a touch of redneck, perhaps. But, yeah. I just know this is like a literary fiction. At first, the synopsis makes it seem like you're following like this dad, but then it switches to you're following his daughter and like what she's dealt with her parents' marriage not ending up working out and all kinds of things. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Again, literary fiction to me is like a fake memoir, so I don't really like to know everything that's happening.
Okay. I just had a thought about this book, and I'll have to see if you remember. Okay, this book I just picked up from the library today. I had it on hold, and it is The Benevolent Society of Ill-Mannered Ladies by Alison Goodman. And this book follows twin sisters who are like spinsters.
Cinderella?
And it's giving the sisters, remember the sisters from Lark Rise to Candleford?
Yes.
That have the dress shop?
Yes.
That's what it's giving. And I'm so here for it.
I immediately was picturing the stepsisters specifically in the cartoon.
Oh, okay. Anastasia and Drizella?
Yes.
I think that's who you mean. Sorry. But, so they are, like, kind of... Well, they're both unmarried. They're just bored with, like, society life. And they're in their 40s. And they decide that they need a distraction from life. And so they decide that they're going to go rescue their goddaughter, who is in this, like... She's married to this violent man. And so they like, set off to go rescue her. And then when they're, like, traveling to this estate, they run into this, like, highwayman, and one of the sisters ends up shooting him on accident or something. And then they realize that they know the guy from their childhood. And he was, like, this man that got charged with murder and sent off to prison for, like, 20 years. Oh, he was exiled to Australia for 20 years. And, like, he's finally released from jail, and then he ends up getting shot by one of the sisters. And then, whichever sister that shoots him is like, I don't feel like he actually committed murder. I think he was wrongfully accused, and I'm gonna prove that he was wrongfully accused, and I'm gonna, like, clear his name or whatever. So then that makes them, like, realize, hey, we could do this for a lot of people. We can be like the helpers of the mistreated or whatever. And so they like embark on this journey of clearing people's names or like helping the helpless. I'm not really sure, but it just sounds like a real good time. And if it's anything like the sisters from Lark Rise to Candleford, I know I'll love it. So,
hey, my next book is Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Another literary fiction-esque romance.
Where could you go?
After I read One True Loves, I was like, okay, her backlist is for me. Can we go back to that, honestly? Like, I love Daisy Jones and the Six. I love Malibu Rising. Don't get me wrong. But why did she stop writing books like these? Like...
It's like she entered her historical era.
Yeah, which, she's like... kind of like the Taylor Swift of writing, switching genres a lot, and time periods and stuff. But anyways, this book follows Hannah, and we're kind of just following her as she thinks about, like, what choices make certain things happen in her life, and if she had done things differently. Where would she be? And the back makes it sound like we're following, like, 2 different timelines, but, like, in the book, there's no, like, indication that that's happening. So I don't know if we're just given scenarios of,
or
like...
she's, like, reminiscing
or,
about
like,
her
in her
past.
head,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, if I would have done this, this would have happened, and this would have happened. But it just says, is anything meant to be? How much in our lives is determined by chance? Most compellingly, is there such thing as a soulmate? Hannah believes there is, and in both worlds, she believes she found him. So cute.
Look at her go.
For my soulmate in 2 lives. Not 1, but 2. In the multiverse. But yeah. I also love just her settings are always so good, and Shawty knows how to write, obviously, so I'm just excited.
I've had on my shelf since my birthday, the first birthday I had here. We went to Powell's in Portland, and I found this, and I was so excited because I read The Familiar by Stacey Halls, and I really loved it. But I think this is her newest book, and this is about a young girl who just graduated from nursing school, and she decides to take a position kind of as, like, a nanny / governess is what I think it was like, but it's for this wealthy couple whose last name is England, and they're kind of like, you know, I don't know, I can't think of the word. They have an estate. There we go. And their estate is called Hardcastle. And whenever she arrives there, her name is Ruby, she realizes that, like, something's weird about this place, like, something's not quite right. And for some reason, like, none of the other servants or none of the other, like, estate workers will have anything to do with her. But it's kind of giving, like, Jane Eyre vibes a little bit. Like, there's something in the background going on that, like, Ruby knows something is amiss, but she can't quite, like, put her finger on it.
Rebecca.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But I'm really excited to read this. Her writing is very, very lyrical, very beautiful. And let me just say, nothing says spring to me more than, like, anything Regency, as you will see as a trend. So yeah, this fits right along in those vibes, and I'm excited to read it.
I cut all my Regency books from this TBR because I realized they were all...
Realized I had too many?
Yes. And I'm like, well...
Actually, I only have 2.
So just, you know, this is a good chance to follow us on Instagram where you can see what I'm reading, because I needed some diversity in my TBR, because if I only put romance, I'm probably going to read not any romance. So, you know, had to give myself options. Well, I still read Regency books, of course. But we're trying to read things we own, except for library books.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
It's library books, it's free, so.
Exactly. My next book is Map of the Other Lands. And this doesn't really take place in spring. But I don't care. Because the cover's cute. And it gives spring vibes.
Kind of.
And this is the second Encyclopedia of Fairies book. And we're just following another little quest for her encyclopedia. Emily's encyclopedia.
Well, except now she's making a map of the other lands. She moved on from her encyclopedia.
Basically the same thing, but visual. And Wendell, of course, my number 1 shawty.
He is.
He's so funny. And honestly, I'm just so glad they're starting to be like grumpy girls and sunshine guys, because I feel like that's way more accurate.
Ma'am.
Anyways, like, I know that for both of us, I would categorize as maybe the more grumpy one.
I don't know. I feel like Dad can be grumpy sometimes. Your dad, not my dad.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Sometimes he is in a really good mood.
Introverted.
He's more of a morning person, that's for sure.
Just more introverted, more confrontational, stubborn, those kinds of things. You're friendly. Those are two different things in my opinion. Anyways, so I'm glad for some representation. Stop making me feel like I'm supposed to be peppy all the time. I'm not, and I don't care. But I'm just excited to read this. This takes place in the Austrian Alps, so I'm going to live my best Sound of Music life.
Yes, as you should.
Through this book.
Always. The next book I'm going to read, and I am going to read this because I've had it for way too long. I am really excited to read this. I've heard this is beautiful. The Inheritance of Arcadia Divina by Zoraida Cordova. And this just gives like lyrical spring fairy tale-esque vibes. But this is about like the matriarch of a family who sends, it kind of gives like Daisy Darker vibes a little bit, I guess, but this book came first. But she sends an invitation to her funeral to her family. And so they come and they're hoping to learn secrets about her life. And then she like, I think she like transforms into a tree or something.
Like Percy Jackson?
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure she transforms into a tree. Yeah, it is. And it kind of like goes into detail about their family heritage and things like that. But I looked at the beginning of this book and the invitation says May 14th. And I was like, that's spring. Okay, I'm reading this. So
the cover was giving me Encanto vibes.
The cover is springy. It has flowers. Flowers are spring, you know. Especially pink ones, so.
Okay, my next book is Graceland by this person, Nancy, with a lot of... Crochet. Slay. Anyways, so we're following 3 people mainly in this book. We're following Hope, her daughter, what's her name? Where did you go? Her daughter, Dylan, and her mom, Olivia.
Okay,
and
I
Olivia,
like this so far. It's like me and Gammy.
That's what I was thinking when I picked it up. Olivia's like, I'm gonna die, so you're taking me to Graceland. And they're like, and the mom's like, no, I have bad memories of Memphis. And she's like, well, guess I'm taking your daughter then. So then they all end up going. And
that's hilarious.
It says, Olivia loves Elvis more than Jesus and convinced she's dying, insists on a final visit to Graceland.
She's probably just saying she's dying so they'll go.
Yeah.
That would be something Gammy would do. She's like, oh,
Olivia
takes me away.
It says Olivia doesn't understand the word no. Well, so yeah, it's a road trip from Boston to Memphis. And it says, encountering jealous soap actors, free-range ferrets, and a trio of Elvis impersonating frat boys. Everyone's secrets begin to unravel. In order to become the family they long to be, Hope, Olivia, and Dylan must face hard truths about themselves and one another on the bumpy road to acceptance, forgiveness, and ultimately, grace. And
I get it, because they're going to Graceland.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
This is like one of those books that I've seen and I'm like,
it's probably cringy, but who cares?
But like I feel like it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Some books are just supposed to be, and that's okay, and I like it. And
like,
it's okay to like it.
This is just one of those books that I've really been wanting to read, but I'm like, do I want to buy it? Because adult books like this are so expensive. This is $18.99. I don't got that kind of money. And like the author herself just sounds funny. It just says that she has an obsession with George Clooney, and on the back about herself, that's what you decide to put. I'm like, why are you writing a book about Elvis then? Oh well, guess we'll find out. But
maybe George Clooney will have like a montage in there somewhere.
It just seems like a good time. I just feel like it'll be some laughs. It's giving like almost Sarah Adams vibes to me. Like I feel like she would write something like this.
Which is why we love
an
her.
LOL kind of book, you know?
Okay, the next book is kind of random. But do you ever have like these authors that you see everywhere and you're like, why do they have so many books? Like
how?
So,
no, it's how.
Yeah. so many books, and then you've read nothing by them. And look at her. Look at this woman. She is
4+4.
Yeah, this picture, Nora Roberts. Okay, so this book is The Awakening, which is the first book in the Dragon Heart Legacy. And the thing that intrigues me about this book is it's modern day, like contemporary, but it's about this girl who inherits a lot of money from her dad. And growing up, he always told her these fairy tales about these magical places. And then he passes away and she inherits all this money. And in order for her to use some of the money, she has to go to Ireland. So she goes to Ireland. And then she, like, steps into a portal in Galway.
Oh.
Yeah. Cue the Ed Sheeran song. And it takes her to a land of fairies and mermaids. So there's fae elements in this.
Sounds like kind of like the Cool Prince, but you're spending more time on it.
So I'm like, this has really pretty high ratings on Goodreads. And I've seen it a lot of places. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it sounds cool, but it could be cringy.
So rude. You're supposed to
look at
judge the book like by the cover, not the author.
Anyways,
no, she looks like she would be friends with Nana. For sure. Or like
she looks kind of mean.
Or like a,
or like,
I don't know,
sneaky.
like Beth Moore vibes. And it's one or the other.
She looks like she knows a secret.
I don't know.
A fairy secret. Anyways, I'm going to give this a try.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised and I'll be like, oh my gosh, now I understand why Nora Roberts has so many books, you know? We'll see.
Okay, next up, I have The House Witch 2, okay? And I have to show because instead of, like, giving each book its own name, it's The House Witch 2, The House Witch 1, The House Witch 3. And so this is the first book. Make sure you get the first one, okay? They are all called the same thing. And I saw...
It doesn't say The House Witch 1, it just says The House Witch.
With a
but
1.
it has a 1 at the bottom, so
and
don't worry.
Side. But just, these books are so cute. I first saw this book at an independent bookstore, and I did in fact buy this because of the cover.
And it was so expensive.
Yeah, because I think it's a indie author. I think this is self-published, which, like, if you have a cover like this, and you're self-published, like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, because I feel like a lot of self-published covers are kind of ugly, because you just, you just do what you can yourself. But this follows Finley, who is like a domestic witch. There is no wizards. Everyone's called a witch. I don't know if it's like atmospheric vibes, because wizards, you immediately think like dorky, like what's the thing from, like the Mickey Mouse show.
Oh, when he's
like Fantasia vibes is what I picture.
I think of like Merlin.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. So this is like cozy vibes, so they're witches. But he works as a cook for the king, and he kind of has the fact that he's a witch hidden. I guess like the lower rated witches are kind of frowned upon. So he tries to keep his magic a secret, and they're just always like, wow, how do you cook so good? This is amazing. You're so fast. It's because he's a witch. And there's like a bit of romance in this book. I mean, the font is teeny, okay? Tiny. And so you gotta just buckle up and give this book some time. And don't rush it. Just enjoy it. Like, almost like Encyclopedia Fairies, But this is the second book. It's shorter. I'm hoping to read it. We're just continuing with the story. It's just a cozy vibe. This is cozy fantasy at its finest. And I'll shut up now.
Okay, my last book is from a series called My Lady, or the series is not called My Lady. It's called The Lady Janies, and it's about different women named Jane in history. So the first book follows Lady Jane Grey. And the second book follows Jane Eyre, and the third book follows... Oh my gosh, what's her name? Calamity Jane. And this one is just about Lady Jane Grey when she's about to be married off to a total stranger, and like how she's gonna get out of that arranged marriage, how I think the person she's arranged to be married to, like, they're only arranging this marriage for political reasons, because if she doesn't marry this guy, then he's gonna, like, come for the throne of her, I think it's her cousin. But there's, like, fantastical elements in this book, because one of the main characters is named Gifford, and he turns into a horse. He's like a horse sometimes and a man sometimes. And he's like this Ethian is what it's called.
What does that mean though?
So at dawn he
shapeshifter?
yeah, he is. I think that's like, is that an Irish name? Is Ethian an Irish word? It looks like it.
I don't know.
But yeah, every day at dawn he turns into a horse, and then he transforms back into a man. But Tahira Mafi blurbed this, so that's interesting. She said, "The tutors meets Monty Python, prepare to laugh and gasp and clutch your pearls." So I don't know. I think I've had this book for a while, and it has, again, good ratings, especially by people that I follow. The inside says, "For everyone who knows, there was enough room for Leonardo DiCaprio on that door." And for England, we're really sorry for what we're about to do to your history. Yeah. So it's like, it's historical, but it's like taking a lot of creative liberties with it. So I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be really funny. Like, funny with a little bit of history sprinkled in.
I like when people clarify that they're taking creative liberty. Because if I don't know a lot about a subject, then I just get so confused. I'm like, I feel like I get trust issues. Like, what's even real?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm learning, and I'm
not. Like, oh, I didn't know that. And you're like, oh, that's not even what happened. But I'm really excited to read the Jane Eyre one. See where that... And the Calamity Jane sounds interesting, too, because that one would be, like, a Western. So, yeah. Reading things off your shelf. Who knew it could be so interesting and exciting? Books you've owned for years.
I wouldn't know. I have one thing. And it's off of your shelf. Well, I don't really have any books, in my opinion.
But, yeah, we'll see how much of these we really read. Hold us accountable. We won't get mad. Maybe we can use some of our TBR prompts to knock some of these out.
To me, this is like now until the beginning of June.
Yeah, till we move. We could say that because you'll have to, return them to the library before we move.
In the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Anyways, we hope you liked this video.
Comment down below how many times I yawned.
Yeah, or you could
just goes up.
You could just put the yawning emoji in the comments below.
No.
Anyways, yeah. We'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.